properly noticed. You should have all received the email on Monday, and it was posted that day as well. All right, very good. Thank you. Looking to approve the agenda. We have a 7-point agenda. Pretty much can't change anything on it, but just looking for the committee to approve. Dorothy, Chad, thank you. All in favor? Anyone opposed? All right, moving on. Approved minutes from the last meeting. Y'all, everybody should have a copy of the minutes from the last meeting. Please note that they are also on the back page. So it's a 2-page listing, so the front and back. Looking for approval. John Poole, thank you. Looking for a second. All right, thank you. And the second. And, all right, all in favor? Thank you. Moving forward then on to number 5, discussion and possible action on the tentative plan. Derek and Lynn, we're going to bring some information. They sent us information and there's packets here, printed information. So Derek and Lynn, if you want to take over, please. All right, so all the information I emailed you is over there on the table, the corner if you didn't get it. So there's a copy there. There's the minutes that were in there, but I also typed up separately the redistricting committee guidelines that you all adopted and we agreed to last meeting with that. There was the one change in there to change the word to municipality. So those are the adopted guidelines. I just typed them out separately, so they're there to guide you in your decision-making process. The other documents that I emailed you, I tried to label each of these documents. So numbers 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 are the documents that we'll be looking at. Documents number 4 and 5 are the colored papers that say 2011 present supervisory district. So number 4 is the county as a whole. Number 5 is the city broken down. So this is just, we're using these for reference. I understand that, you know, we can only get so detailed, but nonetheless, this is what we currently have now. If you look at items number 6, 7, and 8, these are what we have crafted thus far of the tentative plan. So item number 6 is the chart. You may recall what this kind of looked like when we showed you at the last meeting. These are the adjustments that we've made to the tentative plan and are planning to complete that task. So that's item number 6. We'll be going over these in a little bit more detail. I'm just running through them with you. Items number 7 and 8 are what the proposed districts would be. So item number 7, again, is the county as a whole. This does have the numbers that you all requested. We provide you as adequately as we could based on what we're able to do. Lynn was also kind enough to put the proposed changes to the wards here for the different townships as a part of this tentative plan that we arrived at when we were, you know, making the numbers work for the entire county. That's document number 7. Document number 8 is the city. So we, you know, zoom in on the city there. Mr. Joyce was present with us when we worked this out. So Aaron, when we get to the city part, if there's anything that, you know, you want to add, feel free to add. We thought it was good to do this as a collaborative effort since we're going to have to all agree on it anyway. And then number 9, we can talk about at the end. We will have to take to county board a resolution for the county board to fully, you know, approve the tentative plan, which then again kind of kickstarts this to the next stage, ships it out to the townships, cities, and villages to approve it and go from there. So I just wanted to have this resolution ready for you all to approve and sign off on in the event we do not meet on the 16th, which would be the next proposed committee meeting date. So those are the papers you have in front of you. Those will kind of walk us through the process. I'm going to turn it over to Lynn. So Lynn, we can, if you guys have any questions about the current 2011, the districts based on the last census numbers, and if you haven't, that would be documents 4 and 5. We can talk about those. Otherwise, we're going to share our screen, and then we will go into the details of documents 6, 7, and 8, which are the tentative plan as we propose. We'll kind of show you what that looks like. You have it in front of you, but we'll highlight some of the changes and how we arrived at where we did, and we'll go from there. So if that is okay, then that's how we will proceed. Good? Continue. Thank you. I can go over some of the
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, okay, good. So the wards that there were 3 townships affected with, 2 of them have new wards, and then 1 had a ward taken away. So, in here, Sylvan Township, if you can see this blue line here, this was not part of the forest township or the supervisory district number 1. And so we had to add this number of people or blocks to the supervisory district number 1. Marshall Township was this 53 block here was a ward in Marshall Township, and now it is not. Marshall Township has just the 1 ward. So, and then the other, Dayton. So before Dayton had there just 1 ward in it, and now the northeast corner of it is part of now supervisory district number 9. So those were the only ward changes in the whole redistricting for Richland County.
So, excuse me, my question here is, so then Marshall Township then only has 1 ward?
Correct.
Sylvan then would have 3?
Correct.
And Dayton would now have 2 with
Correct.
new changes. All right, thank you.
The other changes, they're just minor changes around some of the boundaries. And Rockridge, for instance, this block right here, this number 41, was in the supervisory district number 6. And now it is in supervisory number 3. And then there's just some other changes along in Rockridge, just minor changes. I don't know if you want to zoom in on those. Then Buena Vista, right in the northwest corner there.
Could you zoom into the Rockridge changes, please?
Sure. So this one here is a change in Rockridge. And then this block of 8 and block of 14 is a change.
Okay, thank you. Any questions so far on Rockridge or the ones we've looked at before?
This is Sean. Is it okay if I speak? I'm not sure if someone else is speaking or not.
It's Sean, go ahead, and then we will have Dorothy speak.
Okay, yeah, I didn't hear anyone speaking, but I'm on the phone today, obviously. So I thought this looked really good. I went through the stats, and that was really helpful to see how you brought them all in line. It's nice that Marshall's cleaned up, so it's more of its own now. That makes sense to me. But I think some of my question is around, I'm not sure which of those redistricting guidelines it was that we adopted. It was something about compactness. And I was looking at the scores for compactness in the stats. The column, it's the fourth, sixth, seventh column. And I'm assuming that if it's a score of 0, it's not a compact district. And if it's a score of 1.0, it's a very compact district. So I was just kind of going through them to see what the most and the least compact were. And the most compact was district number 4, which is, I think that's that Westford Township. It includes Casanova, and it's just a square. So that would make sense that that's the most compact. And then the least compact out of all of them was district number 9, which is the one that goes around Richland Center. And I'm just curious to know if, I know it looks like a lot of the boundaries stayed where they're at, and those are probably historical decisions that have been made. But I look at things like, I think it was district number 20. That was an example of something. I looked at the map and it looks like a backward C. And I wonder why the decision has been made over the years to have a district that winds around another one instead of just making them more square or rectangle. And I know we talked about that last time. So that's my kind of comment / question.
Well, I guess it mainly is because you have different size blocks and they have to be contiguous. And if you have a block that has a lot of people in it, as compared to a block that doesn't have very many, it just works out that way. We worked long and hard on getting it more compact, but when you add up the numbers, it's just the way it works out.
Yeah, and I understand you got to get up to the number. I guess part of my question was, like, just take 19 as an example. Why not take some 19 and 20? 20 is the district that is that backward C. Why not take some of those that are, say, in the far southwest or the far northwest corner, and I guess add them to 19 so it's not such a winding district? And I know you can't do this for all these. Richland Center itself, the boundaries of the city are very lengthy, I guess. It's not compact, by its nature, but I guess that's kind of that's my question. Is it possible to make some of these more compact so that some of those scores at least rise from the low? There's I think 7 of them that are 0.2 or below. Could we get some of those a little higher? That's my comment.
I guess my question would be removing those. How much, when we change those, is it going to bring the other ones down also next to it? Because I think we can work on contiguous and or compact. I know the decision we made was make districts contiguous and compact and not irregularly shaped. I think that's a comment you're talking about, Sean. I think at some point we may have to give a little more priority to one or the other, or those numbers. If we take them out of 1, if it's an 11 and move it to a 10, it's just making that 11 back to a 10. So we'd have to, I mean, there's some balance that we could look at that, I suppose, but I think that's what we're running into. Dorothy, I'm sorry, go ahead.
My question was related to that. I was also looking. I believe it is on. It's on. Can you hear me all right?
Oh, I can. Yeah.
Okay. I was looking at the contiguous column, and there are a lot of falses. And one of those is 9, the same one that's just mentioned. So it seems that it is it's not doing well in contiguous or compact.
Derek, would you like to address the false statement?
Yeah, I would. So when you're looking at that contiguous column, this is actually a question that I spoke with the LRB about prior to our last meeting. So the Legislative Redistricting Board at the state, and asked why these false numbers are showing up. And they actually couldn't give me a great explanation other than the fact that they should not be. So those should go away, because if you look at the column directly to the left of that that says percent deviation, what they're looking for is the deviation. And when I spoke with the LRB, I just confirmed that when we're looking at the deviation, the column we should really concentrate on is that deviation, and that being either a -5% or a +5%, because your overall deviation from the plan can be 10% based on our population and the number of districts we have. So why that's showing up as false, I don't know. I do know that Lynn and I have talked, and what we will do is before submitting this plan and after the plan is submitted, I will follow up with the LRB to make sure that those false things go away. I'm not sure why they're there, and again, I couldn't get a clear answer. The other thing to point out is if you look at I'm looking at document number 6, by the way. If you look at the top right-hand corner up there, it says overall plan deviation, that 9.83%. So we can be either -10 or +10 to that deviation. So we're kind of we're within the parameters of where we need to be if you take all those deviations and kind of, average them out. So that false thing, I think we just need to ignore that for now, because I think it's a programming thing, and maybe it should go away once we submit the final plan. So
Dorothy, does that answer your question? Okay. All right, thank you. Sue, did you have a question?
Okay. Um, I understand, Sean, where you're coming from, with the shapes, because I thought about that too. And then I thought about, yes, maybe things could be shaped out a little bit more, but then you start having word disruptions. And then I don't know what's worse, and people being used to voting, who their supervisor is, how much, I guess, how much is the disruption worth it? And I don't have the answer to that. I was just, wanting to point out that it could turn into more of a clerk or a voting issue disruption than just leaving the strange looking shape.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
And the other thing to consider too is, while I know this won't happen again, but those shapes I think would be cleaned up easier if you did change the number of supervisory districts. I think that would, if that happened, that would be, you could change that. However, we're past that point because we're where we are now. But I think those are issues definitely to look into the next go of this in the future. So.
Sean, do you have other further questions, comments?
I can't quite hear everything that's being said. I think someone just asked me a question. Is that right?
I just asked if you had any further questions on that. Derek just talked about that. I'm not sure how much of that you heard.
Yeah, I mean, I think I heard what someone said about, not wanting to create more ward disruption or something like that. I think one of the principles too is, keeping as many municipalities intact as possible. So, I'm just looking at an example of that. So I'm looking at Richland Township right now, between districts 8, 9, and 18. So if one of our goals is to not create wards where they're not, if we can avoid it, splitting municipalities up, why not take, right now it looks like Dayton Township, the northeast part of that has been added to District 9. But if you look at the southwest corner of Richland Township, there's District 18 takes up, it looks like 4 census block groups. I'm seeing 10, 6, 56, and 0. That to me, I haven't added the numbers up, but that looks pretty similar to the population for the northeast corner of Dayton. So why not keep Dayton whole and then add those? And then I'm assuming it's because Dayton, maybe did the population drop and you've got to take some people out of Dayton, or that maybe why this is happening? I'm not sure if everyone followed what I was saying too. I can repeat any of that. I'm looking
We're-
at
we're
one
doing
screen.
some
I'm not
chunk-
sure what you guys are looking at.
We're looking at our sheets right now, so hang on one second as we're pondering those thoughts and looking at the data sheets.
May I
Okay.
make an observation?
Sue, please.
Mr. Chairman, I'm looking at the original numbers, which aren't in tonight's packet, but the deviation for District 8 was plus 8.25%. So people needed to get out of Dayton. How we did it, how you do it, it has to get done. Whether or not you adjust anything else, people still need to get out of Dayton. I don't know where it would happen.
Well, and then in the southwest of Richland Township, so the 10, 6, and 56 actually goes into supervisory district 18. So 18 needed more. District 8 needed less.
I see. That helps. Thank you for explaining that. That helps me.
Okay.
Other questions from the group?
And just to, kind of how we did this when we first started this, we literally took the numbers that you had from the last meeting and started working with the largest deviation and really just worked our way around, the existing boundary lines and pulled this, the pockets closest to the number of people we needed to keep what we had intact. And we did clean up a few things. We were able to clean up a few along the way. And then, of course, we tried to make other things work and realize that kind of what Susie just alluded to earlier, that upon doing that, then you open up a whole slew of other things that, can't necessarily be fixed or accommodated either. So that, when we did this, it, was, we were working our way around what we had, not just, it's a little more than just picking blocks and numbers to be like, oh, that's a number I need. So maybe that goes without saying, but that's kind of how we approach this. And when we worked with the city, we did the same thing as well. So.
John?
I know this is neither here nor there because you weren't supposed to think about people anyway, but did the redrawing of lines have any impact on current supervisors? So in other words, would somebody have been where they live drawn out of the area they had represented? I was guessing.
There weren't any supervisory, where they live now, they weren't taken out of their existing district.
Okay.
And that was not used in consideration for any
Right,
of the lines.
right.
Those were
It was-
removed and then,
yeah.
okay.
I mean, we started with the same, with the stat sheet that you guys have, document number 6 is what we had, and we didn't reference anything else. We referenced making those deviations within the range that's acceptable, so.
Okay. Other questions? The other question I did have, if you zoom in on Buena Vista, you were talking about that, and we did not get a chance to look more closely at that. You had a couple comments on that, Lynn?
Well, I'll have to look at I can't get both hands up at the same time. So, let's see. So the green here is the existing one, or the present one. So we had the block 7, 8, 148, and 3. This is plan, our current, our proposed plan. So we added the 12, 8, and the 6, just to make the numbers work. 18. And we tried to keep that as compact as we could while doing it. that ward was already created before. Buena Vista has 4 wards, and so we added to that ward. We didn't add another ward or take a ward away. We added to the existing ward.
Questions from the committee on these maps, on looking at items 7 and 8? Thank you. Any other questions on that? Any other thoughts? Sue's got something.
This may be getting the cart before the horse, but I was just curious from a clerk's perspective for, say, Richland and Buena Vista, where you just like extended out an existing ward. Now, because it didn't create a ward, do they have to do any ordinances, resolutions, or paperwork to put in new census blocks or whatever?
If there's no wards created, there's not an ordinance you'd have to do. So last time a few of you had to do that. However, you will be getting an email from me after this meeting that says, here's what we talked about, here's what needs to happen next. So we'll talk about, you asked about resources at the last meeting we had towards the end. We can talk about that at the end, but I will have further instruction for you on how to proceed with ordinances, resolutions, and things like that.
And for me, it doesn't affect me at all.
No,
but
correct.
I still think it's all about the
the three clerks that will be affected will, I'm assuming, will talk very closely and we'll have stuff ready. So yes, you're welcome.
Other questions about these changes, this information? Do we still want to look at the city then? Is that correct? Okay. Let's move on to the city then. There's no questions on this section. Let's move on to the city.
So the city will be document number 8. So Lynn will have it up there. Mr. Joyce, if you want to jump in at any point, feel free. It was actually quite nice to work with Aaron, Lynn, and all 3 of us together doing this. It was a good joint effort, so thank you both.
It's going to be kind of hard to see that. This is the present plan, and Aaron, I believe there were some changes down in here. This is West Union Street, West First Street, West Mill Street. You know, we moved some of these blocks around, I think, from probably most of the districts. Aaron, correct me if I'm wrong. Just a block here and a block there, just to make the numbers fit.
So again, this is changing the county representation for those people in the city on those blocks. Just one block the other side. Okay, all right. So Aaron, in working with this, any comments you have as you went through it? Any thoughts that you had that we should know about?
I think that the way it panned out was pretty successful. It was pretty remarkable. Even individual blocks moving around just really changed the numbers, percentages, around, and we tried to get them as close to acceptable as possible, and we tried to acrobatics to move some things and make them a little more linear. But I think in the middle of the city, you can kind of see where the different districts do come together, and it's not real linear there. We really worked on that area of the city. Maybe we can touch on the District 14 of the districts in the city. That is the lightest one. However, we know that there is going to be growth in that area. So we purposely went lighter in District 14. You guys want to touch on that at all? Or elaborate at all?
Yeah, I think that's a fair statement. The red part that kind of comes up there towards the the middle of the screen, we did try to kind of move that around and down to try to make these things, like Aaron said, in blocks that are more square, more linear, and not so stretched out like they are. But the numbers fell within the standard deviations that we could, and I feel pretty good about that. Actually, I think there's we were able to kind of plan for the future, which is always good to do. Yeah, I don't. Anything else on? You don't? Okay.
And really, it's very similar to the current district. So, which was nice. Didn't have to change a lot. So, but we did some acrobatics to try to get some things changed around a little bit, but all in all, I think it does look very, very good.
John?
So how are citizens notified about these changes and the change in a supervisory representation?
So there will be we'll have the public hearing. There'll also be the final hearing that they can come to. This information is then sent to the Wisconsin Elections Commission, so people can go to My Vote and find that. All this information is fed to the statewide, Wisconsin Elections Commission. So short of that, I mean, counties are not required to send, a notification to every single county resident that says, here's where you vote. It's the voters' responsibility at the end of the day to make sure they are registered in the correct area. And when we print poll books, if someone shows up and they go to the polls to vote, they'll realize there was redistricting and that, they got moved around. But yeah, unfortunately, not everyone's going to get a letter. 17,304 letters are not going to go out saying, here's your new voting thing. So, but good question though, because this information this is fed to, different departments too. So for clerks, you very well aware of the Wisconsin Elections Commission and My Vote and things like that. As residents, they can find that on My Vote. My hope is that they would know to call their municipal clerk or even the county and say, hey, where do I vote? What's changed? And we can help as much as we can. So.
And this was done in 2020 based on the census numbers. So those people may not even live there anymore. And they may be renters, they may be. So that's why the My Vote and the voter responsibility is so important. Other questions? We've looked over the county, we've looked at the city. Other questions, Sue?
I do, and I hope it's not a dumb one. Can we look at District 14? What that rectangle is there with the 0. I just needed, I could probably go and look myself tonight, but I thought I would just ask.
It actually is a block that's in the township, not even in the city.
Okay.
And what is there right now? North Park, okay. North Park, thank you.
Not a full in it.
If someone's speaking, I'm wondering if they can speak into the microphone. I can't hear anything.
I don't think you're on.
Okay.
Sean, this is Chad. I was just talking about at the end of my street, there's one little, I don't even know how far, it's almost like a driveway. It's actually considered a township road right above Crosscut Park.
Does that answer your question, Sue? All right, thank you. Other questions? Other questions from the committee? what I'll be looking for is a motion to move forward with this document. It still then has to go to the public meeting for their review. Is that correct?
Yeah, we'll have a public hearing on the 20th, so that's going to happen regardless. And then it will actually go to the county board members of the redistricting committee will present a resolution to county board for approval and adoption on September 21 for the formal approval of the tentative plan. Once that is approved by county board, we will go in and do our magic in Wise LR to push all these plans out to the township, cities, and villages. And then in the letter that I referenced earlier, I'll be sending you some further instructions. So basically at that point, cities, villages, and townships have to access the system, accept the plan, approve the plan, that gets shipped back to us, and then we move into the final hearing stages. So that would be what comes down the road. But next would be the public hearing on the 20th to prepare for county board on the 21st. We did have 9/16 set up as an alternate meeting date. I guess you folks can decide whether or not we need to have that. If you're happy with what we have here, then we will proceed with this as the county's tentative plan for redistricting. And this is what all the other municipalities will see and what we will, field more questions on the public hearing. So that public hearing is a chance for, obviously, citizen input is very important. So it's a chance for citizens to come and tell us, local officials, you'll get that letter from me that will give you the details too. So a chance for people to come and suggest any changes, and then we'd incorporate them in and take it to county board on the 21st.
And that is September 20th. Have we set a time? I think it was 6 p.m.
Yes, sir. And it's actually going to be held at the conference room at HHS. This room will actually be reserved for a jury trial, and the technology doesn't bode very well in the courtroom, the actual courtroom. So we'll be across the street at the conference room at HHS, which has a smart board that will allow you to see this just like you are here and anyone else.
So
I would make a motion that we accept these changes to present at the public hearing on September 20th.
I'm looking for a second to that. Second from Chad. Any discussion? Any further discussion on that? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
I am going to speak up opposed. I do, and I probably should have jumped in there with the discussion, but I still think that, and I know a lot of work goes into this, and it's more complicated than I probably can understand or know, but I still think redistricting guideline number 3, making districts contiguous and compact and not irregularly shaped. I think maybe more could be done there, and maybe I just need to learn more about it, but I am going to vote no.
Okay, thank you. We have one opposed view. Everyone else is in favor, so the motion is passed, and we will move this on to the public hearing on September 20th, and short of any changes there, will go on to the county board then. Correct? Okay. All right. Moving forward then, ideas for future agenda items. I guess the next topic is, well, first of all, from the committee, any suggestions, any ideas for future agenda items? Do we want to meet on the 16th? I'm seeing a lot of shakes of heads no, but I'd like to hear something. All right. So pretty much I think what we've tackled here, and I want to give a big thank you to Lynn, Aaron, and Derek for taking the time and the resources to come up with this. It looks like a very good plan, and thank you for that. So nobody on the 16th, any other ideas for future agenda items? Okay, I would like to see as many committee members here on the 20th, or I'm sorry, HHS on the 20th. I think it'd be really, really important to have the committee members there, answer questions. The public can see what we did. Dorothy?
No, but if someone on the 20th objects to something, what is the process then for, does it go back?
It is for input only.
It's for input only.
For input only. There to bring items for you all to consider. And the difficult thing about this is that we are under such a time crunch that we had to squeeze this in, and it was incredibly hard to make that timeline that I did, knowing that it's just incredibly hard. So it is for input only. It is informational for you guys to consider.
If there was something egregious, something that really stood out that we totally missed, we'd have to call a special meeting. We'd have to do that before county board, probably just before county board, because we'll be under the 24-hour notice. So there's a lot of steps that could happen. So that would be if something just came up as, oh my gosh, we really missed this, or something happened, then we'd have to force and work that through that. Okay. Other questions from the committee under item ideas for future agenda items?
Mr. Chair, if I may. So just to follow up with the clerks for different resources, I did reach out to the Wisconsin Towns Association and the League of Wisconsin Municipalities for the city, told them who I was and what we were doing, and let them know that you folks wanted to know about different resources. And both organizations, the WTA and the League of Wisconsin Municipalities, did tell me that they would heavily advise you to call them, for templates for ordinances, resolutions, and things like that. You're obviously welcome to call me, but they also have legal court counsel staff that works through redistricting, and you pay a membership fee to that. So you should utilize the tax dollars appropriately and use those services from those folks, because that's why they're there. So they were happy to help, and they were actually okay with me calling, and thank me for calling to let them know that I was going to say in a meeting tonight, I told our clerks to call you. So they were okay. I would suggest to start there. Again, you can call me and I'll give you information that was used from the meeting, the last redistricting meeting. It's probably outdated because it's 10 years old, but nonetheless, it's at least a good reference. So just call if you have questions, but that's where I would start right away.
Thank you.
I do have a question. I'm pretty new at this, but going forward, this would not be done again for another 10 years. And if you were to look at redistricting supervisory districts, I think currently the county board has 21, is that correct? So if it needed to be studied, when would the process start to study to maybe downsize some of those supervisory districts to come to a better agreement other than 21 members?
I think that would be totally dependent upon how the county wants to proceed. If they wanted to start looking at this now, they could totally start doing that, but realize that it would be 9+ years before it goes into effect. So I think, from an organization's perspective, I think you need to think about where you want to be in 10 years and what you want to do and what things you want to accomplish and how many folks you need to do those tasks. Because when you decrease county board supervisors, you increase, the number of committees and the workload, if you will, that everyone has. So I think, you need to think about where your organization wants to be and what you need to do that. So I don't think I think it just depends, Bobby Ann, but
Okay.
stock answer sooner rather than later, right?
Okay.
So.
And this is a unique year because of the time crunch to get into that was just
for sure. I understand that. Mm-hmm.
Other questions? Other questions under ideas for future agenda items? Hearing none, moving on to adjournment. I'm looking for a motion to adjourn. John, second. Very good. All in favor? Thank you all for your service. I will see you September 20th, 6 p.m. Health and Human Services Conference Room. Thank you.